Did anybody see the fallout or the interview with Donald Trump and Zelensky and JD Vance from the Oval Office?
Yeah.
So I have to ask you two parts of this. Did you see the clipped out 9 to 15 minute version, or did you see the full 45 minute version?
One.
I'll be honest, because when was it on Friday?
Yeah.
So
Friday
the weekend's
night.
passed and all. I have a few pints on the weekend. I didn't really tune in to most people's opinions, and so seeing both sides of it on Twitter on Sunday night. So I took a big load in, and I don't really know what to think of it.
Yeah,
okay.
I seen it Friday.
So what happened was
it's almost like reality TV, though.
It's not. That's what's done my head in over it.
Okay, so what's happened was you've had the kind of war in Ukraine rumbling on. Obviously, some sides want to stop it, which means they're going to have to cede some ground or territory, Ukrainian territory, to Vladimir Putin. Some sides are trying to prolong it. Weirdly, the left have actually been a bit war hawkish in terms of they're trying to beat the drum to keep it going and support Ukraine more with either manpower, in terms of troops on the ground, or with the money to buy the military equipment necessary to keep it a fair fight. But it's co-aligned really with Starmer, David Lammy having to go out to America to deal with Trump. I think from what I gathered, Starmer had handled Trump superbly in terms of seemed to get a relationship, even though the handshakes were some of the fucking weirdest handshakes I've ever seen. Yeah, it was weird. Starmer kind of got in and out of it, the Oval Office with, I would say, a victory. He looked like he'd showed leadership. The next day was the problem, because Zelensky was then in the Oval Office the next day with Vance, and things took a turn for the worse, which probably fucked up all the WEF and all the neo-Marxist kind of power bases in Europe, NATO, that want to continue the money flow into Ukraine, whether it's going into their pockets or their cronies' pockets, who knows. But clearly they want a kind of peaceful resolution to this in the midst of not losing out on the money. So Zelensky then goes in, and it couldn't have gone any worse for them in terms of, you watch the Ukrainian press lady who just puts her hand in her head, because some people have seen JD Vance and Trump's attack on him, saying they've rounded on him in front of the media. And actually, if you watch the full 45-minute interview, I'll just be honest with you there, Zelensky's a cheeky bastard. The 350 billion in, and this war was no closer to resolution than it was 3.5 years ago. There's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the conflict, either dead, wounded, catastrophically, or in terms of some of these alleged meat grinder assaults, catastrophic losses on both sides. So the Ukrainians have now started rounding people up off the street. So basically, like snatch vans going round, and if you're a person of military age, just getting lashed in the back of it and taken to the front line to fight, whether you like it or not. So Trump came out before the meeting with Zelensky and said these are the actions of a dictator. Didn't condemn Putin, didn't say Putin was a dictator, because he said, well, why am I going to criticise Putin if I'm going to try and do a deal to get peace, and I'm criticising him, calling him a dictator and an evil dictator 1 minute, how am I going to get a deal over the line? But he did go far enough out there to call Zelensky a dictator. That was then put on his toes.
He said, did he say that?
When he was talking to Starmer, and he obviously just fucking jogged them on and got them out the building. Starmer the next day turns up, Zelensky the next day turns up and just absolutely shits the bed, and he gets lashed out. He didn't even get to the dinner. He got through out to the White House, and I thought they were valid points that JD Vance made. I know it did feel like they were rounding on him, but when he said, you haven't once showed any gratitude to say thanks. Trump also said to him in his weird little way, the way he points is quite weird, his little weird hands, where he was like, you don't hold any of the cards, you don't hold any cards. And he's right, he's like, you're acting the tough guy because we're backing you, but you don't hold any of the cards.
But he was sat in the middle, weren't he, of the two? And
he was sitting on this side, and I'm like, no, if I'm coming to your house and I'm asking, hey, you've already lent me 350 billion, can I lend some more billion off you, and all your warships and all your nukes are kind of fucking help me act as if I'm a bit harder than what I am. All of a sudden, you disappear with all your military stuff. Zelensky's stood there, left holding his dick with like Keir Starmer and Ursula von Leyen, whoever the head of the EU is at the minute, and those fucking weasels who look, they put up a fighting force, but also they're not the might of the superpower military that the US have behind it. So the fallout of that's been really, really interesting. Some people having a go at Trump. Trump saying, no, you need us. You don't hold all the fucking cards here. Trump's obviously going to cut a deal. They'd already cut a deal for the minerals that hadn't been signed. So this is where they think Zelensky's messed up. So he should have had that mineral deal signed, and then kind of Trump's beholden to that. As it was, he didn't sign it. They've had a disagreement. I've never seen anything like it in my lifetime, by the way. No. I've never seen anything like it. To elite level politicians having it out like that in front of the TV cameras. But also, Trump said he's going to change politics, and his administration so far has been true to its word. It has really shaken.
But did it need to be aired out in public?
I don't think it was meant to be, but I just think they got pissed off at Zelensky's attitude and was like, hey, we've kept you in this fight. Like, you're coming asking for more money. Like, they also, let's be honest, I think if you don't have to do a bit of digging into Hunter Biden and the laptop and Brasima and all that to know that the Democrat Party have been absolutely washing money through Ukraine here, and Zelensky and all his cronies have all enriched themselves, and unfortunately the gravy train has to stop at some point. Now, the gravy train, if you watch Oliver Stone's Putin documentaries, Putin says it very, very clear. After what happened in 2014 with Maidan, and they believe, the Russians feel massively aggrieved because they believe that a democratically elected president of Ukraine was overthrown by the CIA and Victoria Nuland and the American kind of Democrat Party, whether it was John Kerry and kind of Bush and John Kerry and kind of Obama administration into this current Biden administration. And we also know Biden's got massive ties back to Ukraine because of what came out on Hunter Biden's laptop. Not only the fucking paedophile nature of him with the young girls and all the crack cocaine, but also all the stuff that he had going on with the shady deals into Ukraine, and Brasima was the big company. And actually Biden, if you get the big clip of it, Biden actually says, he actually come out and says, we withheld £1 billion worth of US aid to Ukraine until they changed the prosecutor who was investing Hunter and his connections to Burisma. Said, as if we were going to let that son of a bitch stay in a job. He actually tells you to your face in a finger and says, we withheld the funding until they got rid of the fella who was prosecuting them for corruption in the country.
That's corruption.
And then as soon as they got rid of it and changed the prosecutor, they give them £1 billion worth of funding. So it's exactly what Musk and Doge has kind of uncovered about this US aid, which has been an NGO, a kind of soft power arm of American diplomacy to overthrow democratically elected governments. As I said to you a while back, Vladimir Putin was never, ever, ever going to give up that base on Crimea, Sevastopol. It was never getting given up.
No,
now, the other problem for the Ukrainians and NATO is south of that south and to the east of that river, all of those territories that in 2014 overwhelmingly voted to stay part of Russia, that have got big Russian-speaking populations, that Zelensky has banned. He's banned the teaching of it in school, he's banned the speaking of it in school, he's banned political parties associated with it. So all of those people feel aggrieved that they're not getting heard within what they deem to be their country, that Ukraine stays part of Russia, which, it's obviously been part of the Soviet Union in the past. But if you do your military history and you study the geopolitical landscape of that area, Ukraine's been part of Poland if you're going back thousands and thousands of years, that landscape's changed a lot. A lot of the conquerors, whether it's the Holy Roman Emperor, whether it's the Greeks moving through there, whether it was the Mongols, whoever it's been moving through there, that's known as the breadbasket of Europe. In many, many ways, it's not like London where you've got 1,000 years of kind of monarchy that you can trace back to fucking Henry VIII.
Yeah.
Ukraine is very much a land that's been fought over for centuries. The borders have changed based on the power structure in that country. And actually, in lots of parts, it's a barren wilderness of just field after field. Yeah. It's just a giant wheat production area with obviously some mineral resources.
What is the rare minerals thing? What's all that
So
about?
it'll be all the metals, precious metals, stuff that's in the ground. Obviously,
But that's always been there,
resources.
Right? Obviously.
in that Crimea and that.
But it's a huge part of it. It's why the Soviet Union kind of wanted to keep it part of it, because it does have a lot of mineral resource. But also it's what they're fighting over now. So the deal's going to be done now, in my opinion, between Trump and Putin, based on who gets what of what's left of Ukraine. So the big fallout of this was obviously in the Ukraine weren't invited to the peace talks about Ukraine. So the Starman that were all kicking off, they were like, well, we're not fucking inviting you. Me and Volodymyr are going to sort it out, which you would imagine is the sensible way to resolve it, based on Trump loves this hard man, big, powerful, image, and he wants to be seen as getting it sorted, sorting the world out. So stopping the war in the Middle East in terms of Israel and obviously Hamas, and stopping the war in Europe in terms of Russia and Ukraine. Now, the thing for this is, like, Putin's going to be buzzing because he gets out of it he's been an international warrants for crime. He can't move out of his country. He's obviously ruined his popularity on a global scale. So he gets a win in terms of, he's seen to get out of a war he thought would be over relatively quickly. He obviously had the rude awakening to the standard of his own troops, but also, their capability to knock over a country of Ukraine's size, and also massively underestimated, I think, the fighting qualities and the pride of the Ukrainian people, but also underestimated the response from kind of NATO and the US, who've up until this point backed it. Now we've had the regime change, and the Democrats, who've been at the bollocks, robbing money, taking money out of Ukraine, corrupt Democratic Party, in my opinion, have now got America in a situation where Zelensky expects that money because he's been getting it from the Biden and Harris administration. Trump's just come in and said, "You're not getting that, you silly cunts, fucking about with us, and you're coming in here without a shirt and tie on," which they had the popper for, and giving it trying to slag Putin off in front of me, and I'm going to try and cut a deal.
Called Vance a bitch, didn't he?
Yeah, he under his breath, I think, yeah.
So again, it's not, if I'm coming to your world and I need your support, you can't behave like Zelensky. I thought he behaved as a jumped up, arrogant, who's been fawned over for far too long. And actually, if the Americans pull out of it, Ukraine are fucked.
So where's Starmer in this then?
So then what happened is,
how was it a win then?
What happened is Zelensky's fired out the White House, but there's a big outrage and all the left have kicked off. So then, as Zelensky actually got out of Starmer got out of his pocket, a letter from King Charles to Trump. Trump was like, yeah, great. Trump doesn't care about the king. Yeah. This is what we're missing. Like, we still believe in this fucking empire, and they just do not honestly give a shit about us.
Did you read the letter?
No, that's what.
So he gets a letter out as if Trump was going to be bothered. Trump ain't asked about the queen.
He was like, Trump, do you want to read it? I don't know.
Trump pretended to read it. Yeah. Trump pretended to read it, and then as if it was
how's
like
your
his ace card. All right, pretend to read it. So then, after the Zelensky fallout, Zelensky's chased out the White House, big furore over it. Zelensky then appears back in the UK, so Starmer invites him back, and he goes to see Charlie. Obviously, Charlie with the old walls bangers fingers is shaking hands with him and all that. Zelensky's rolled out again, and Starmer's again pledging the support. Now, what Keir Starmer's cleverly done here is somehow put himself at the centre of negotiating between Zelensky and NATO and Trump. Now,
Musk,
I just really, really don't think that's a smart position to get yourself in. Bearing the fact that Trump and Vance spoke about freedom of speech there, and Starmer had to try and fight for it, to say, our country's, been strong defenders of freedom of speech and will continue to do so. Well, Keir, we know that's a lie. But, there's many of us citizens of this country that will attest that is a downright a lie, that you're saying you're protecting free speech in this country. You're doing absolutely no such thing. So to go in the Oval Office and lie, but it says a lot to where Starmer's at. He'll say whatever's necessary to get whatever he can to work his advantage, to fit his agenda. The problem you have then is Starmer now sees himself as the deal maker and the negotiator. If you know anything about Donald Trump and his ego, he ain't letting you have jack shit. He wants a Nobel Peace Prize for solving world war and sorting it all out and make the world a harmonious place, which, if he stops the war in Ukraine and he stops the war in the Middle East, surely everybody who's been marching on the streets for months and months and months talking about the ill-gotten gains and the death and destruction on all sides of those wars should be thanking the lucky stars that Trump's come in and waved the magic wand, and that's the end of it. He should be given the highest You know, what would you get there? It would be like the Nobel Peace Prize. Should be given that, surely. He's the man who's come in after wars have started up. Obama started Libya, got rid of the Gaddafi. The Americans have been at it, whether they remove Saddam from Iraq under the first Bush administration. All of a sudden, you've got a president who comes in, who polarises people, but has come in and tidied up their own politics and their own ways with Doge, and getting people who were working in civil service in America back to work, not working from home. So actually earning and you know, the money that it costs to rent and heat those spaces is actually getting used and not getting spunked up the wall. Plus all the stuff that USAID's been doing in terms of soft power and corrupting people on for American politics on a world scale. He's removing that, so America does truly become first. And then he stops the wars. How can he not get the Nobel Prize for peace? Like, surely he's the most influential man.
Why are people still hating him then?
Because I don't think people are hating him. I think people think he's me. I don't hate him at all. I think some of the things he's done really good. But he does some stupid things. I'm just thinking, you can't be the leader of the free world when you're releasing a video showing Gaza, this new Gaza as this metropolitan of with a big gold statue of him and all that.
I seen
I'm
that.
just thinking that's what.
But that was AI, weren't it?
It wasn't, but he's reposted it.
Yeah.
With a gold statue of him in Gaza. Like, I'm thinking.
So is that his ego there? Do you reckon?
That's what I mean. That's what.
Hang on a minute. Every building he's ever built is Trump. He used to fly on planes, boats. It's Trump boats. Trump, right? So listen, surely you know at this point he's got a huge ego, right?
Yeah.
Then what's happened is he's been elected the first time, right? Probably didn't know what the fuck he was doing. In between getting elected the second time, they've tried to cripple him with the court system.
And they've kill him?
Well, hang on. I'm just saying, they've tried to cripple him with the court system. When he's made it through that and still managed to run, they've then tried to assassinate him. He's ended up turning to look at a chart about some immigration thing or something he was moaning about, and that's ended up saving his life. So now you've got a massive ego who's been successful since the early 80s, all right? Who's survived assassination attempts and now believes he is sent from the gods to absolutely affect foreign policy going forward. So nothing that's happened in his life has made him think anything otherwise. So the problem you've got now is he is now in control, whether you like it or not, of the world's strongest military. Yeah. And if we're fucking really, really sensible here, we do our utmost to stay friends with them.
Oh, 100%.
We also need to do our utmost to make friends again with the Russians, because we do not want the Russians and US having a nuclear war in Europe, because that is not good for anybody.